when I watched Mission Accomplished and The Other Side, one of the most interesting one of the really interesting thing that you do is you spend a lot of time with soldiers and you ask them, you're kind of just shooting the shit with them, asking them
That's
about their
exactly.
lives.
Yeah.
How do they make sense of kind of their reality? And in both films there was very much like kind of an ambiguous justification. A lot of them were they were telling you different things for why they were there, and none of it really was very compelling.
No.
And then the second kind of emotion behind that was they accepted their reality as a soldier, like as a job. So there's like a lack of conviction, but they like assume it and they commit to it. And I just found it so fascinating. I mean, to me, that was incredibly humanizing because it's like people are put in these situations for whatever reason and feel, I guess, the need or feel stuck or for whatever justification lives inside of their mind to be a soldier.
Well,
And it was
yeah,
just it was a lot less like, we're fighting for freedom, and it's just like, yeah, this
yeah,
is my job, this is
100%.
what I do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know what? To me, it was revelatory because going back to people online. So in Vietnam, American soldiers had this great acronym, REMFs, Rear Echelon Motherfuckers. So the people in DC running that war
Yeah,
uh, were
I
the
like that.
rear echelon motherfuckers because the young
Yeah,
grunts
that's
are
great.
out there.
Yeah.
Uh, and so in DC, Nixon or wherever, they got the reasons for war. The protesters were getting very angry, but they were also rear echelon motherfuckers in a way
Mm-hmm.
back home. So because the those protesting against the war or American soldiers in Vietnam, well, they're not there as uh, representatives of the war machine. They're just young Americans in Vietnam. So I had this one. Now, again, as you say, I'm not a news journalist, and I've realized anyway that when you ask people the news style questions, you get nothing. You don't learn anything. If you say to a Muslim terrorist, "Why are you fighting?" he will quote Islam or Al Qaeda. You ask the Russian soldier, "Why are you fighting?" he quotes the propaganda. We're fighting Nazis. American
Yeah.
soldiers, well, we're fighting freedom.
Yeah.
None of them believe any of that shit because you go to the front line, and the closer you are to the front line, the more truth you get. So one day I'm up a mountain in Afghanistan in Kunar province, one of the most dangerous places in Afghanistan. Young American soldiers were up there for 6 months without rotation, suffering from scurvy. I mean, they had no fresh food. They were having to get vitamins, as you say. Now, I'm sitting there with these young kids, black, white, Hispanic. It was this great mix. That's the great thing about the army as well. It's a lot more mixed than a lot of uh, areas back home or industries. Like the liberal media is not as ethnically mixed as the army.
Right.
So in that sense, it's more liberal. I'm up there, and it is so dangerous up there. We were laughing at the insanity of it, and I'm like, "Why did he? How did you guys end up here? Why did you join?" And it was so funny. It just so happened, for some reason, this unit, the reason why they joined the army and and gone to fight for freedom and democracy, Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Afghan. Well, the reason why they went, they'd all been in prison, so they'd all been
No
done
way.
local jails for like minor, and so they were
Yeah.
around the campfire. One guy said, "Well, it was he'd done 2 times for some minor crimes." And the judge said, you either now go to federal prison or you join the army." He was like, "Okay, I'm joining the army." So it turned out all these kids had been carjacking or some little crime, had done 2 times in local jail, and it judged third time, you go, you fight for freedom and democracy, or you go to federal prison. One of the kids around the campfire went, "Well, no, mine's different." And we were laughing because all these guys who'd been in jail were now heroes, and they were genuine heroes, but they were laughing at the insanity of the world because one of them had read they were all online when they were back in some base in Jalalabad. He'd literally walked through the valley of death to help a fellow soldier who'd been shot in the head and got wounded himself, and he was now being heralded as this hero back home, and he was like laughing because he knew it's like, well, back home I'm considered fucking the scum.
Mm.
I was a prisoner. I was a car thief and a drug dealer. Now I'm a hero. It's madness, but I'm still the
Yeah.
same. And they had what kept them going was the love of each other, the humanity,
Yeah.
the bond. But one of the kids around the campfire, he hadn't been in jail. His was, no, well, he's from Florida. Never forget these guys. He said, I was in Miami. He worked in a nightclub doing the valet parking.
Hmm.
Now, he was a really good-looking 20-year-old. He said it was great. He was on rollerblades a lot of the time. He said he'd park the cars, and he was just like, women leaving this nightclub in their Ferraris, he would hand them the car, and they would give him a tip. He was making like $5,000 a week, but he'd also get phone numbers saying, if you want to come back to mine. And literally, the rest of the platoon are sitting there going, you gave up that shit to come here? He
Yeah.
went,
What are you doing?
yeah. And it was, we were laughing so much. And they said, don't put that on
That's
camera.
hilarious.
But it was one of those beautiful moments. And so none of us had, so we were all they were the tip of the spear. They were
Wow.
representing America, defending or fighting for freedom and democracy. But no, that's not how they ended up. But it was a lovely tale there because they were true heroes. And there was this lovely, and it was this lovely color blindness because, if someone's, I've been giving CPR to a dying body, human, and if you open a chest, it doesn't matter what race, gender, it's exactly the same.